Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything is, looks like everything's working correctly here. Good. Welcome. Hopefully everyone is able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead and all that fun stuff. It's got plenty to talk about, especially on the crypto side of things. But before we jump on in, of course, let's take care of our normal morning stuff. Don't forget, on the right side of the screen, make sure to read through the Live Trading Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. And as per the usual, of course, understand that on the YouTube side, there is around like a 5 and 30 second delay, which will definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at any given moment. Excuse me. Hey, Terry, how's it going? Good morning. Everybody else so far that's rolling in, good morning. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I just want to take a second, speaking of, like we do every day, to thank all of our new members, subscribers, Academy students, VIPs, and everyone in between. Welcome to the SSFTG fam. I'm super excited to have you all on board, but if you aren't part of the SSFTG fam yet, there's a ton of different ways to join up. The easiest way is to join as a YouTube member. That's with the join button below the stream. Gets you in the chat room, the YouTube community board, the stock and crypto chart posts that we have there, as well as just a bit more behind the scenes and what's going on. And of course, if you want to understand everything that it is that we do every day in the room, don't forget to check out the Day Trading Academy along with everything else. Tons of stuff that we have waiting for you over at ssftg.com. Hey, Steven, how's it going? Good morning. So if you're here for the first time, or for the 1000th, good morning and welcome. I hope you're all ready to rock and roll alongside of me today, analyzing these crazy markets of ours. Let's take a look at some news, take a look at some charts, all that fun stuff, and we'll start digging in. Don't forget, today is a Wednesday, and as a Wednesday, that means that we have crude oil inventories and all that fun stuff. But before we get there, don't forget to grab the morning DP levels. Those are posted for you every single morning on the Major 7. Nasdaq, S&P, Gold, Crude, Euro, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Whew! Man, we got them running shoes on again today. As far as the news is concerned for today, we've got the 830 core durable goods orders for September. That was forecasted at 0.4%. That came out earlier this morning at 830. There's nothing else really until 1030, and that's the crude oil inventories. Oops. As far as the crude oil inventories are concerned, if we're looking at the numbers, the 1030 inventories are forecasted to be a positive 1.914 million. But remember, when we're looking at the crude oil inventories, we always like to take a look at what's going on with the API reports as well to give us an idea as to how to approach this, and that took place yesterday. I've got that posted here for you at 16:30, and that number came out at a positive 2.318 million. They were forecasting 1.65, so they were actually forecasting a little bit less, and they still came out at 2.3. So the fact that they're forecasting 1.9 almost makes me think that we're probably going to be looking at an inventories today of around like a positive 2.5 to 2.8. That would be my guess at the moment. Either way, it's anticipated to be a bearish news announcement so far, with the API giving us a little bit of a heads up. We'll see what they want to do with it. Crude oil's been not really doing a whole lot so far this morning, but it is slowly grinding its way down, I guess. Let's jump into some charts here, see what's going on. Hey, Brad, how's it going? Good morning. We've got the Nasdaq first up on the plate, and honestly, not really much has changed from yesterday. I mean, when you have a market that's just kind of going straight up, there's only so many things that change from day to day. This would be one of those scenarios. I mean, we've got the obvious roll to the upside. We're 1.5 miles away from the low. And if we're looking at it from that channel perspective, draw that across, and then we can pop that up on the highs. Remember, we were first talking about how, like, is this a midline? Are they working with some type of midline structure? Because it does kind of fit, and that would demonstrate a lot of support, but they're not really pulling back far enough. And it's almost making me think that we don't quite have the angle right on this. So let's tilt this up a little bit further. And it may not seem like it makes a huge difference, but when we pop this up now, what I want to see is, does that make any... Okay, so now we've got some really nice tests on side. So again, it seems like if we're modifying this, it looks like they expanded the wedge to the upside, but we can further kind of continue to check, but by moving this to the highs, and here we can see there's plenty of resistance going on there. Tried blowing off the highs, but failed. Likely inside resistance all day. Yeah, that does also mean that there should be about a halfway point. So let's add the halfway point inside of here. Let's do 50%. Dot. There we go. So we've got a nice little midline kind of cutting through the halfway point there on the Nasdaq, working its way higher. The market's severely overextended, massively overextended, and could very much use a pullback, but that isn't stopping it by any means. It just keeps on going higher. Over on the S&P, same thing, if not even more aggressive. We've got incredible aggression coming in the S&P, where there's been almost no pullback. You know, at least with the Nasdaq, we had some halfway decent sideways momentum with a nice dive to a new low. On the S&P, that pullback was another higher low. I mean, it just straight up. So as far as the overall momentum is concerned, I mean, this is just spike and channel after spike and channel after spike and channel, where we just kind of rolled off of the one that we were talking about yesterday. And it seems as though we're kind of creating a bit of a flag, or maybe, again, a spike in channel. It seems to be kind of the case. So really what a lot of sellers are going to be looking for is a resistance point at the top of the channel, like always, but bulls are going to want to see them fail and use that as a launching pad to the upside. It's a little bit high-weighted, kind of a bummer, but I mean, either way, you know, the context from the Nasdaq to the S&P otherwise is about the same. It's just the S&P seems a bit stronger. Gold continuing to chop around, super sharp, sloppy back and forth. But again, what we've been talking about, the important thing is waiting for these low spikes to be put in and then buying the corrective dip. That's where that move down there was, for a beautiful bounce back to the upside. And, you know, I mean, we've got the continuation phase higher, and now they're rolling back up into where, you know, maybe sellers want to try to take over again from here. Maybe not. This could be 3 lower highs on the way down. I mean, it could be a lot of things, you know, but as it stands, the bulls are still creating flat level bottoms, and this is just kind of consolidating. I'm very curious to see how this wants to play out, but I mean, the bulls, I guess, technically still kind of own it off the lows. Gross. Gold is just a mess. Over on crude oil, again, the anticipation for crude is going to be a bearish number. What the heck? Sorry, my cat had a cherry. He plays fetch. My cat's basically a dog, but he has those, you know, the game Hi-Ho Cherry-O with the little red cherries? He plays fetch with those, and when he wants to play, he brings them to me and drops them on the floor. That's what that little plastic sound is. Anyway, we've got the crude oil continuation to the upside. The assumption here is that we're going to get a bearish report. The bearish report, realistically, in terms of support, the support on the report, geez, oh Pete, that's going to be tough to say, would be on a 3-press wedge low, possibly a channel low. If we're looking at the overall volume flow, going back on the last rally, whoops, all the way up first, we had a lot of consolidation, but generally speaking, the 82.94 POC was where they got left behind. It created a really aggressive higher low, barely, and then rolled all the way back up. So, I mean, given that it missed the low by, I mean, literally, I think 1 tick, and then rolled all the way back up to break even, that was sort of the seller's last shot to try to get this to roll down. And chances are, if we measure this up, that's probably going to be a scalper's target that they bounced off of. Yeah. So we can see that sellers on the scalp side are still re-upping and pressing into the move. But, you know, that's it. It's just scalpers. That's all that they were able to achieve. And when it rolled back up, there's nothing but break evens. So with a continuation to the upside, then we kind of have to ask, like, well, wait a minute. If that's a higher low, this is all technically part of the impulse. And we can kind of go and look at where that pullback zone may be. Hey, Bram, how's it going? Red badge, yeah. I think he had a red badge last month too, or is that the one this month? And then I don't even remember my own color scheme. I should probably know that. I don't remember when the break point was. Either way, red badge. How's it going, man? Looking at the crude oil market again, the pullback point, 82.90s. That's the POC balance point, but we've got a wedge ahead of it. Man. If we do get a little bit of a trap underneath the lows, this is kind of the barrier, right? This is the zone. But if they start breaking underneath the 8250s, it could be a lost cause. We'll see. On the euro, beautiful continuation to the upside. The euro finally follows through with that momentum up, but it wasn't after they already kind of vindicted the lows. I say vindicted, very realistically vindicted, pipped, in fact. That's a pip and rip right there. Pick your pocket and goes ripping higher. A lot of longs probably got taken out on that, really. If they're going to be looking to buy into the lows, it makes a new low underneath this. They think they're safe, so they roll their stops underneath that base, takes them out to the tick to go screaming higher. We've all been there before. The overall momentum to the upside here is... This is one of two things. This is either all of these lower highs coming to fruition with that new low, and the bulls getting stuck up at the high trying to get out at break even. If that's the case, this rally should persist all the way up to 16,560s. Ish. We'll see how far it actually wants to go, given that it's having some challenging times at the previous swing high. But if we look at a 3-press wedge top, depending on when it gets there, that actually lines up really nicely up here. It might have to go a little bit over here, but you kind of get the idea. It's this zone up here that is creating the barrier. Now, if the shorts are looking for a continuation phase to the downside, we've got to see where does it fit their risk, because that's going to be a heavy point of interest. And we can see that as far as a 3-to-1, which is what this measurement is, this doesn't fit. So 3-to-1 entries, they're not going to be able to float there. 2-to-1s, that's totally fine there to the downside. But 3-to-1s, they're going to have to start creeping in a little bit further up. So let's refine this zone to be where these traders are going to be getting in. The beginning of the box is the 2-to-1. The 3-to-1 is what we have to find next. That was a pretty good freaking guess, okay? And the 3-to-1 would be right there to the top of that. And if we want to expand it a little bit further for the best entries to target ratios with targets ahead of settlement, that would be up to there. And 5-to-1s are going to be a little bit further up, little bit further up, ooh, little bit further up. There we go. Right there. That's our hot pocket. Right there. Depends on when it gets there and how it gets there, but that's the hot pocket for the shorts. See if they want to take it lower from there. Over on Bitcoin, big pullback to the downside. It looks like maybe attempting to get a two-legged corrective phase lower. And if that is the case, then a little bit more down to 56,000 is feasible. And if the bulls were going to take it over, where are they? You know, not exactly showing up to the party. Not to say that they aren't, you know, strong or can't make it back up or anything like that. In fact, some of the crypto markets we were talking about in Discord, how a lot of them are starting to put in V bottoms. You know, some of them are hanging out like Bitcoin, Wi-Fi Maker, and all of those. But others like Engine, they're already all the way back at the highs again. Shiba hasn't stopped going up. So it's like, you know, it's definitely nice to have a relatively across-the-board market. But for the most part, it's a sea of red on crypto today. And, well, we're not really finding a whole lot else going on. I mean, from a structural perspective, maybe wave 1, wave 2. I mean, initially I would have thought wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. But sideways, a little bit larger pullback. This is making me reconsider that maybe this whole move down was just a really disgusting wave 4. It still fits. I mean, it never made a new high. And that would be a completionary 5 move down. It fits a lot better when we consider the larger context. Looking back over here with the 5 to the upside and the 4 being down here. And I mean, this is definitely BTFD. This is where buyers are dip buying. It's just a matter of whether or not right now is the time to strike. And from a risk-reward perspective, it is. Very, very little risk for the reward all the way back to the highs. But it's also not really bouncing. It's got to get some oomph. Same goes for Ethereum. Ethereum has a phenomenal little trap that took place underneath there, and you'll notice all those wicks back are coming back to that same spot. What a shock. It's almost like buyers are buying into that. Weird. Now, they're not breaking through, but they're still holding above. And as far as the Bitcoin and Ethereum market are concerned, so long as that's the case, then we've got a good reason to believe that this is nothing more than a break-even drop to basically pip everyone out and go ripping back to the highs. If they start losing their ground underneath this, though, that's going to cause some problems. And a lot of those longs will probably start exiting at break-evens. This is also a lower high. We've got some concerns. The nice thing about this is that we don't have any divergences, right? There's nothing suggesting that there was weakness on the highs. So I very much think that this is nothing more than a break-even drop. The question is, have they found all of those break-evens yet, or do they have to go further? Oh, man. Lumen's got absolutely freaking train wrecked. Oh, man. All the way down to 31 cents. BTFD! Woo! Man, I love buying lumens on a dip. Anyway, let's take a look at gold and crude and all those first. Looking at the intraday, starting off. Clear off all this other stuff first. And on the 500 tick. So from a 500 tick perspective, really nothing much has happened. We kind of started the day off with a weak rally to the upside. Very small, but it did end up breaking, completing all the way up. We had a break and continuation down. That led into kind of a gross looking channel. I don't like the way that looks at all. That's all it gives us, though. That's disgusting. Anyway, we've got the break, and we've got several legs to the downside, and in fact, it also looks like they're probably setting up some form of spike in channel, which is where a lot of that attempted resistance came in. They didn't succeed, though, so when it made the next move down, those are disappointed sellers that are being thrown a bone. They took that bone, and looks like they jumped ship. So, reasonably then, if we were to draw this up, I would have to guess that we probably have a bottom-weighted POC down here, right? And if we continue to the higher low, that was probably a break-even, right? And there's the alligator's mouth snapping the fingers off. Right there. So as far as the upside momentum goes, we've got a very decisive move, and it's a very decisive 5-wave pulse as well. If we're looking at the overall continuation, wave 1, wave 2, I don't believe that this is wave 3, wave 4. I don't think wave 4 is this. We've got a very nice decisive wave 2. Very likely wave 4 is going to be a mess. So we're probably not into wave 4 yet, but this could very easily be a precursory low telling us where to expect the low to come in at. Around the 15,558s might be a clue. Somewhere down here, that would make a lot more sense for the completion. From a cycle standpoint, if we're looking at this from that perspective, we've got an L5 hold off of the lows. After that L5, you're typically anticipating, and at least an L2 would be nice. As far as the pullbacks are concerned, though, it's been nothing but ones all the way up. So if we're looking for a pullback, guess what lines up really nice inside there? Pullback at me. We've got to get that dip back into the L2, but it looks juicy. It looks nice. We'll see if they want to play ball. I mean, again, it's just a fresh high, and this is a 500 tick. But looking at the 5-minute, not really much of a perspective shift. The wicks can sometimes demonstrate what's going on, and if we're looking at it from the wick perspective, we've got the L5 off the low, nothing changes there, and this continued rally to the upside is nothing more than a twin reversal into an L1, and a dive back, or a rip back up into a new high. I mean, we're just challenging these previous areas, and notice, these are previous areas where sellers would have gotten in. These are some seriously strong bear bars, and we know they worked, right? So, I mean, given that we're coming back to this area, I mean, there's definitely going to be some shorts that are going to be trying to press back against this. This is opening. We're going to be, if we open up here without moving away from here, it's going to be a really awkward location to be opening up on. As far as the S&P is concerned, even less candles to work with. They had the attempted rally to the upside. Started with a move down to a new low, then rallied up to a new high, then rallied down to a new low. Rallied down to, you know what I mean. Rolled down to a new low, and we're probably going to be rallying up to a new high. At least that's what would make sense. From that perspective, then, we probably have a broken L1 or something along those lines. We've got an L5. The L1 did hold initially, and then they tried getting the L2, which is now reversed. We could still very easily get a higher low pullback down into settlement. That would be favorable, rather than buying way up here. In fact. Now, understand, right, the Nasdaq, I mean, we know how the Nasdaq rolls. The Nasdaq may want to have a slightly deeper pullback than the S&P, but it's there. Gold has a continuation to the upside, which is off of the L5, rolling higher. They finally had the 2 dip back into the highs, but a lot deeper than they were anticipating, and this is probably going to be a swing short top up here. It's low probability on gold, but this is where sellers will be looking for a continuation phase to the downside. The risk reward is incredibly small, considering when you're looking at the overall location. Again, we're looking at a very sharp, pointy move that is, well, usually the first pulse to the upside is a failure and then rotates back to the downside. So I don't believe this rally to the upside. I would like to see a secondary move. I did not get a fill, unfortunately for me. That would be at 95.8. That's incredibly frustrating. The downside objective would, at minimum, be a 3-to-1. The thing that kind of sucks about a 3-to-1 is that the settlement is beyond that. So, I mean, since I didn't get a fill, I guess I can get greedy. I'm going to see if I can get this to back up 96.3 and get a better entry. Fine. You come to me then, gold. On crude, bearishness is the anticipation, but the problem is it's at the lows. Can't exactly sell down here, hoping that it goes further down. Kind of late to the party. And the euro... Ugh. The euro looks like all the others, it just has less volume. We'll see. All right, and then on the Femex side of things, the top volume is on Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously, but Link and Tezos again. Wow. I've got this on lumens right now, XTZ. Although Engine is very high up there, I just don't know if Coinbase has Engine. Yeah, it doesn't. That's not going to work. Oh well. Hey, the heavy metal drop is, wow, the heavy metal drop starts at $500? Really? That's where they're going to start it? Wait, and it's a bid? I can't even buy it now? What the F? Bro, I want to buy it now, heavy metal. Sorry, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm looking at the Crypto.com NFT drop from Heavy Metal. They have a Halloween drop, but looking at it, it's only bids. There's no buy it nows, and there's only 10. WTF, Heavy Metal? What? That feels like a money grab. I don't know. That one frustrates me. All right. I'm going to skip that one. I was really excited about that too, which is irritating, but oh well. Gold looking to see if they can get some continuation to the downside. Ethereum and the majority of the crypto market is under a heck of a lot of pressure. We've got 925 right around the corner and 930 right around then beyond that. We've got, I mean, the markets really aren't doing a whole lot on the U.S. index side of things. Pretty calm and quiet. Maybe everyone had their cage rattled a little bit on crypto. I don't know. And here we sit. The open right around the corner, looking for a potential short for a 3-to-1 to the downside on gold. Honestly, I like the 96.3 area even more now with this bearish continued close. As far as the rotation that we've got going on for the Nasdaq and the S&P, I mean, really just kind of waiting for that deeper dip, which we haven't even come close to. And before I lose this thing to the ether, let me make it so I can see it. There we go. Yeah, and the S&P rotation's already done. They had an L3 flip. Pretty aggressive. Crude oil seeing a little bit of a bullish pop off of the lows. Probability of success not very high on the gold short, no. It's in a nice zone of support, but you got to be realistic. When you're only risking, initially at least, risking 10 for 30, you can't expect to have even more than a 50-50 probability. That's just not how math works. But being realistic, you're probably around like a 39% area as far as likelihood of success. But 39% with a 3-to-1 is really good math, so it's worthwhile. Even though I know that it's probably going to be a loss. Because I know if I take that same trade 100 times over, I'm going to be a happy camper in the end of it. So that one's more of a probabilities game. Would like to see if I can get a better fill, though. Sheesh, man. We've got a pretty gnarly looking wedge going on here for the crypto markets, and I tell you what, nothing fits. There's not a single drawing that I can get on here that fits properly. Like, this misses the lows back here, but if I put it on here, this doesn't really hold over here. What a mess. Got to do a fuzzy channel. Crude oil sellers just slapping it right off the top of that bear bar. 928 around the corner. Expect to see some volatility at 928, or at least that is the usual. Getting a bit of a pullback on the Nasdaq, getting closer to the L2 area of interest. I tell you what, Tezos actually kind of looks like a halfway decent short right now at $6.10. XTZ on the top right corner there. I'm not a huge fan of shorting crypto. I'm more of a perma-bull, BTFD, but what? Why did it enter along? Okay, I must have fat-fingered the key. Hang on, I gotta jump ship real quick. I don't know what the heck that was. I think I fat-fingered my hotkey. I didn't mean to go long there, but, well, that's one way to start the day off. Obviously, I knew it was a mistake, so once I realized what was going on, I immediately exited, but I think that was like an 8 or 10 tick loss. Great. Nice way to start the day off. Thanks, Murphy. I want the dip lower. I don't want to buy it way the heck up here. I want it down here at the 56.50. Oh well, welcome to life. As long as you can spell socks, right? Eso sí que es. Need a little bit of a dip in the L2 for the Nasdaq. The S&P, I mean, I'd really like to see the S&P get back down to settlement. Crude oil rallying all the way back up like that last dip didn't even happen. What dip? What dip? $10 seconds until crude crude open, the NYSE open. Internet speed's back to normal. Been watching live at 240p. Oh, geez. 930 hits. A little bit of a pulse to the upside, but no real dip back to the downside. In hindsight, should have just held on to the accidental long, huh? Never do that, by the way. That's a really bad habit to get into. Don't ever hang on to a trade that you don't know why it's there. Just joking. Just kidding. Looking to see if we can get a little bit of a pullback at some point here on the Nasdaq, but that little dip was about all she wrote. On crude oil, couldn't get the fill to the short, or sorry, on gold, couldn't get the fill to the short. That was at 96, is as high as they went. I was at 96.3. Missed me by 3 ticks. Have they already gone to a 2-to-1? Yeah, they just hit it. Crap. Alright, well, I missed the gold short. There's nothing I can do about that. I tried getting it, couldn't get the fill, missed me by 3 ticks, and it's already down to a 2-to-1. I mean, job's already done without me. Ooh, man, S&P is not looking friendly. A lot of volume down here in the 66.75s. I've got to admit, initially, I think this move down is nothing more than a fear tactic. It's very early in the candle. Let's see if I can pick up the bid here on 68 and catch a little bit of a flush to the downside. Next zone of interest is down in towards that settlement area. And I do have the 2 long on the S&P, so I will utilize that as a freebie short on the Nasdaq for a hedge. And look to scalp the hedge on the way down while I'm building into my S&P. I'm going to use this dip here to exit that Nasdaq short because I don't believe that I'm really going to need it. I think the bulls are pulsing back up with more than enough. At first I was a little bit concerned in the way that it was dropping down, but the bulls are showing more than enough. They're so close to settlement, though. Man, it's like right there. Just... Can't quite grab it. Tried to pick up the bid, but I couldn't get a fill down there. Alright, I'll see if they can pulse down and grab settlement then. And actually, I am going to throw the Nasdaq short back on for a hedge, but primarily because it's an incredibly beneficial location right now. The S&P is way far down. So if we do get a situation where the Nasdaq wants to catch back up like that, it's much, much more likely that we're going to be able to grab those quick little scratch scalps on the way down. So I'll grab them when they set up, but I still really like the S&P build. They're finally down to settlement. Not getting a fill, though. There we go. So again, taking the hedge short on the Nasdaq with all these little pulses. Technically, even with all of that new high, that wasn't enough to really do anything. Couldn't get a fill on that dip for the S&P. I'll just continue scalping these little pulses on the Nasdaq. So while I'm maintaining my long on the S&P, I'm effectively able to take a hedged short on the Nasdaq and just continue to scalp it over and over and over and over again, which is what I'm doing. Every time it gets like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ticks off, grab another one when it pulses back up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ticks, grab another one, take it off. It's compensating for the loss that I may have to take on the S&P if it doesn't want to start pulsing a little bit further up sooner than later. Nasdaq couldn't quite get the L2 down there. Nasdaq pulsing back down again. They're almost down to that L2. They're not quite there yet. Just really quickly throwing scalps on and off on the Nasdaq every time it gets a pulse back up. Eventually, one of the Nasdaq contracts will end up having to be a loss. It couldn't get it fill on the dip there for the S&P. All right. Quick little scalp down. Ooh, geez. That jumped up fast. Couldn't get a fill on the bid down there at the lows on the S&P. Tried grabbing one in the 5850s, but couldn't quite make it. And still just scalping the Nasdaq basically with free hedges on the way down in the way that it's operating. Give me a little bit of a better price, Nasdaq. There we go. Gold pulsing up. Nice momentum to the upside on gold. Nasdaq beginning to push back up into the original first shorting area in the 591s. This is where the shorting all originally kind of began on that rally to the upside. And it looks like, man, they tapped that again and it rejected straight back off. Oof. Okay. S&P is trying to climb back up off of the lows. We've got a really, really nice giant wick off the base there for the S&P. The Nasdaq hedge short is still just kind of hanging out. Like I said, eventually one of the hedge shorts is going to be a loss, but the amount of contracts long on the S&P or the other market compensates for the loss, the whole point. Along with that, that's what all the scalping's for in the interim. So, just got to give it some time. S&P climbing back up. I'm going to use that little dip as an opportunity to jump ship on... I didn't mean to hit close on the S&P. Okay. I'm going to have to re-enter... I don't know why it closed everything. I closed the Nasdaq, but it closed my S&P long too. What the heck is going on with my hotkeys? I mean, I guess if I were going to close all of them at once, that would have been the time, but... Hang on real quick. I'm going to jump out of all of my positions. I gotta flatten and double check WTF is going on with my charting platform. Because, I was hitting the sell on the Nasdaq, and my S&P closed. Okay. Hang on. Should have known right from the start, right? Right from the start when I fat-fingered that entry, I should have known something was going to be up today. Hang on. I did go completely flat, not per a trading reason, but because my charting platform... Hang on a second. Let me close everything down. All right. 2 seconds. I've got to go through... I'm going to wipe out NinjaTrader and start from scratch. There's no data there. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Boy, technical problems are all kinds of fun, aren't they? Jeez. Two seconds, guys. Sorry. I apologize for the delay. I certainly don't want to deal with it, but I am flat. I went flat. My charting platform is throwing on orders for some reason that or it's closing position. I don't know. I've also noticing that my Razer software for my keyboard did an update. I'm going to send Razer a bill. 2 seconds. I got to connect all back up, and I just wiped all the data. I have to say, though, in a way, it's kind of refreshing to see you struggle with problems, too. It lets us know you're human. Yeah, I know, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. Ugh. The ghost of Halloween made the trick. Yeah, I don't know. I had the Nasdaq, and I looked to dump the Nasdaq. So I sold 5 to 1. I was short the 1, so I sold 5 to 1 to draw it down, bring my average up, and I liquidated out of that one at break even. It popped up into break even. I liquidated as soon as it dipped underneath. So I know that one was at break even. But when I liquidated my Nasdaq position, my S&P position closed too. That wasn't supposed to happen. So, I mean, I'm looking at the S&P like I should still be long 6 contracts right now. But I can't take that risk if I don't trust my charting platform. You know what I mean? So that's why I talk through the entire process. I know it's good to see people stumble when they work through it, and that's the important part, is understanding how to work through these tripping blocks, because they'll happen. It doesn't matter if you've been trading for a decade or 5 minutes. They'll happen. You got to know how to work through them. Yeah, and when I try to pull up my Razor software, it crashes. Okay. Well, I think I have my answer then. No. No, it didn't crash. No, the Razor software is fine. That's right here. There's no updates. It's all up to date. Okay, so it's not the keyboard then. Well, that's good. Okay. Sorry, give me 2 seconds here. All right, hang on 1 second here. I've just got a, make sure it's on the right. I don't want to be placing any accidental trades on the wrong thing here. Okay. Sorry, I'll just show you what I'm doing. I'm making sure that my hotkeys are working. This is not on my normal account, obviously. Okay. Close. 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 I don't know. My hotkeys seem to be working just fine. I don't know. So it's not the keyboard. It's not the hotkeys. We've ruled that out. I don't know. We'll just go with it, I guess. Really frustrating considering how well that long would have worked out in the S&P, but when I can't trust my platform, I'm not going to stay in the position, obviously. As long as you can spell socks, John. As long as you can spell S-O-C-K-S. S-O-C-K-S. Okay. So we've got a really, really strong bullish pulse to the upside. The Nasdaq totally missed the L2 by like a fuzz and a half, rallying all the way back to the upside. Beautiful rotation back up, unfortunately without me due to technical problems. I've got to say that with the technical issues... Man, I just did a reinstall in Ninja, too. I guess I'm going to be spending my afternoon reinstalling Ninja. I don't know. I don't know if I trust putting any more trades on. You know what I mean? Like... I think I've got to make the judgment call. Be the leader by example. I don't think I can. I don't think I can keep trading. I just don't trust it. Like I'm already second guessing the next entry, and I haven't even started looking for it. So I guess we'll do an extended training time. This will be a perfect time to go over the crypto charts and everything that's going on over there with all that movement. But given the issues with Ninja and everything that's going on, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to be reinstalling Ninja and making sure that everything is working correctly later today. That's for sure. So there might be some tutorials coming out soon about setting up hotkeys and setting up Ninja stuff because I'm going to be going through it. So I guess with that, it's kind of a bummer, but let's take a look at what's going on the crypto side of things. Yeah, it's one of those situations where I feel like I have to be the leader by example, and if I'm not comfortable trading, I don't really want to put any risk on the table, and if I don't trust it, You know, what kind of example would that be? If like, oh yeah, I feel like this is a terrible idea, I'm just going to keep trading. You know, like, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing? No thanks. So. You know, the thing is, that decision is made a lot easier because technically the day is still ending in positive territory, although I'm kind of curious, what do the numbers look like? Because they probably look like garbage today, right? With technical problems and all that. What in the heck? Is there a gold? Oh, yeah. You get crude off there. Okay, so this is today. I don't know what the numbers look like. Keep in mind, today is a technical glitch day, having a lot of problems right from the start, closing everything straight out of the gates. So my numbers are probably going to be terrible today, but you know, again, in the interest of, of showing it all, even on a horrible day, we got to look at them. 73.08 minus 100 is a 26.92 times the average loss of 24. And then we've got the average win, 73.08 times the average win of 10 minus 6. Hey! Hot diggity! We stayed above break even, baby! Oof! That largest win versus largest loss, though, that sucks. I mean, again, we know why the numbers suck today, but I'm not a big fan of trying to hide behind a bad day and say, oh, well, I would rather show it all, and today sucks. It is what it is. Welcome to life, right? Still ending in the positive territory, but man, not in a fun way. I feel like I got my teeth kicked in today. Anyway, let me see. Could you talk about ELX, Ethereum, or however? Oh, ETH, yeah, Ethereum. More on the investment side. Maybe I'm telling him that it's too high to buy now. If he wants to hold for a long time, wait for a pullback. Could you go through the price action and let me know how to find a good buy and hold entry, perhaps? And first off, I appreciate the way that you worded that, because that saves me having to go through all of this down here in the bottom right corner. So as far as where Ethereum is in and of itself, right? I mean, we know that when we zoom out on a much larger perspective, being a buyer way up here, that's tough. You know, that's real tough. This is the FOMO buy, right? This is the buy that, Granny Ma sends you a call, says, hey, what's this Doge coin? You know, like this is what happens. The shoe shiners are starting to talk about Ethereum and crypto and all of it. The same thing happened back when it was in 20,000s, or for Ethereum back when it was, well, you get the idea. This would not be the spot to be a buyer per se. But that said, it doesn't mean that it can't go further up. To me, when we're looking at the much larger perspective, I've got to get away from the Femex side of things because they don't show enough data. Let's go all sources, USDT. Who is it again? Poloniex? I think it's Poloniex. Yeah, there we go. So if you go way back, and we kind of see what took place historically, right? The last time we had a situation like this where the market went sideways, came up near the highs, that happened over here. The market came very close to the highs, fell all the way back down, landed as a wedge. Ended up breaking above that, mind you, for a continuation higher. So does that mean that in hindsight buying here at $350 was a stupid idea? No, of course not. Especially not when it's trading at, 4,000. But that said, it doesn't mean that it didn't ride the struggle bus for quite a while, where it dropped 50% from there. So this to me is more along the lines of what I would consider a DCA high, where I still believe that it's going to go higher in the long run, and eventually a measured correlative breakout of about 250% above the highs is realistic. So if we keep that into consideration with a 250% break above the highs, jeez oh Pete's, that would put Ethereum at about 15,000. So is buying it at 4,000 bad? Well, not at 15,000, you know, but keep in mind that it could also drop historically about 50% from here. So to me, this would be where it's like, okay, this might just keep going all the way back up to the highs. So if I were to say, all right, you know, I've got $1,000 and how do I want to spend the $1,000? I'm going to split up $100 here, $100 here, $100 here, and I'm going to buy $100 today, and in a couple days I'll buy $100 more. See if it went down a little bit. And if it went up a little bit, you know, so be it. I'll buy a little bit more. I'm averaging in. If it goes down and finally gets the pullback that I'm looking for, then maybe I'll buy a little bit more than 100 when it finally gets the dip. But buying all in way up here seems difficult. Not to say that in 2 years from now it's not a bad idea, you know, but between then could be an 80% drop. So from a technical perspective, historically speaking, there's another potential rally of about 250% above the highs. And where we are right now from a percentage basis off of current price, it's 280%. So, you know, to me, it's like, okay, well, we've got about 280% upside potential. That's a great spot. Like if I wanted to throw $100 in and you told me that in a couple years that 100 is worth 280, awesome. You know, that's okay, cool. I'm happy with that, or 380 or whatever. But if we were to buy a dip down to, let's say, let's even go on the shallow side and say like a 40% pullback. All the other pullbacks have been like 50. Let's just say a 40% pullback. If I were to buy $100 here, it's worth 280, 380 later on, right? If I buy a little bit further down, about halfway into that, now that one is almost worth 400. And if we maintain a little bit more pressure, or a little bit more patience, now you're looking at almost 500% from that pullback zone, and that's on the high side. So, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with it where it is up at the highs. There's still another potential 250%. But I like 600% a lot more. You know, it's more bang for your buck. Yeah, no problem. It's following history very, very well. The initial concern was that we had one of these, right? We had this really strong overdrive pulse to the upside, really strong overdrive pulse to the upside, and then we were going to see a monstrous correction. The last time we had that corrective phase, the first drop was about 61%. Actually, the first drop was 46%, then 61, and then eventually 75, and then all the way down to 93. So it's like, you know, do you really want to be a buyer up here when there's a 93% drop potentially looming ahead of you? Well, knowing that after that 93% it goes up, you know, a bajillion percent, sure. But, you know, where it is now scares the crap out of me. I wouldn't want to buy all in right now. That wouldn't make any sense. That seems like a CNBC buy, you know. I'm sure we'll have an expose from them in a couple days on how to buy Ethereum again. That's usually the signal to start selling. So, and look at the pullback that's taking place. You know, from a volume perspective, if we're going to break this down and we look at the overall initial rally, because remember, we first started off, if we look down here, with a trapped low into a higher low. So that is a higher low. If there's an L6, that would be it. I mean, heck, if there's an L7, that might have been it. It was basically a double bottom. So when the market starts pulling back off of that double bottom, I mean, first off, how did they respond to that, right? Their volume was right in the middle. So assumably then, the way that this looks to me is that shorts were trying to get this going to the downside, and they got ran over hard. Really hard. Right? Couldn't get the objectives down through the lows. Got slammed. So with that assumption in mind then, that break-even point, their first entry would be there. Continue this up to, they didn't really pause until about there, so we'll go up there. No change. All right, go up to the next new high. No change. Go up to the next new high. No change. Lower high. Still no change. And we finally have a new high. Is that going to be enough? Still no POC change. So one thing's for sure, the sellers are massively stuck and the longs are very, I mean, they're doing great. We don't have any shifts. We don't have, I mean, it's too far up. There's too many issues for me to want to buy full bore up here. Now, looking at some of the others, Shiba is up over 6,000 now. 9,000's around the corner, baby. It's over 9,000! We've got Engine, which rallied all the way back up to the intermediary highs before kind of pulling back on itself a little bit. But these are dailies. So let's zoom in a little bit closer here. Oh, man alive. That's a fun-looking chart. How's Shiba look? Yeah. Topped out so far at 6,281. That is now a full 1,000% ROI from when we first started talking about it. Just saying. This is stupid. In a good way. It's stupid in all the right ways. Unbelievable. Looking at some of the others, AVE, we had that nice dip down that obviously had its rally to the upside, which worked out incredibly well. I, unfortunately, was not able to catch anywhere near all of that. I jumped ship a lot sooner than all of that. Kind of a bummer, but is gold working its way down. Bitcoin, again, I mean, what is there to hold up Bitcoin? There's nothing for ages. It's got to go so far down. Same goes for Ethereum. Intermediary support in Ethereum, 3890s up to where we are now, the 3950s. Buyers are propping it up. We can see a lot of supportiveness, but, oh man, that trap on the highs and this big leg down and the fact that the bulls aren't getting anything done, this seems like it's going to drop again. Oh, man. Mana had a giant flush all the way down to 71 cents, took out all the stops on the lows and ripping all the way back up. Solana had a flush underneath the 177 stops, took all them out, rallied all the way up to the highs. Sushi took out the stops underneath 1023, rallied all the way up to the highs. No, but I mean, really what we're looking at here is we've got a really, really aggressive flush underneath, taking out a lot of stops. It seems like a lot of buyers are trying to BTFD into this. The question then is, are they going to maintain the support to get this going back to the upside, or is this going to be followed up with another pulse down? And man, I don't know. The bulls aren't showing me a whole lot. I tell you what, though, the Wi-Fi dip. This dip on Wi-Fi looks nuts. Like a break-even pullback. Holy crap. If Wi-Fi is going to pull, out of all of them, Wi-Fi looks like one of the best that's setting up. Now, in terms of the modified POC, it hasn't changed. But man, they're bouncing off of that thing hard right now. And the previous POC was just underneath that at 33,160. So Wi-Fi's got a ton of support, but that failure on the highs, man. Part of me is looking for those BTFDs, but got to be realistic. Higher lows all the way across. Wi-Fi looks like one of the best. Nice pullback on the indexes. Dipping back, going into 10 o'clock. Again, I am not going to be trading anymore today. I don't trust my platform. I'm going to have to do a full reinstall to make sure that everything is locked and loaded. But as far as this rally higher on crude oil, this means one of two things. Either the news is actually going to come out bullish and somebody knows. They knew right about there. Actually, they probably knew a lot before that, but they were waiting to get those stops underneath the lows. We'll know when the numbers come out, but given that the way that this is moving so aggressively going into the open, if this maintains its bullish nature up into the highs, it's likely that the numbers are actually going to come out as a surprise bullish number, and there have been firms that have been building in for that all morning. They already knew. The other situation may be that this is nothing more than a break even on stuck longs. Stuck longs would be probably all the way back up to here, right? Oh, right. My data's bugged. Ninja, thanks. Forgot. Their POC would be back up at the 84.65s. So if it is going to rally higher, it's likely just going to go straight up into the 84.60s or so before finding any resistance. But the concern is that if they don't find any resistance up here and the market doesn't V-top straight back down again, that the number is going to be bullish on the inventories, and this is a precursory rally. A bullish number that has already had a bullish rally that procures a dip on bullish numbers that we already know buyers have been buying in all morning on, will be a really nice dip buy for the longs on crude. Super fundamental though. Going on to 10 o'clock. Feel free to get those questions in. We'll get those covered for you. All right. And here it all sits. Not really much else going on, and man, technical problems all morning on my end. That's going to do it. So if I missed any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com, or get them in the comments underneath the YouTube side of things. I'm going to be reinstalling Ninja and probably going from there. So we'll see how everything goes. Again, man, Ninja. I'm about ready to scrap this stupid thing, but I've had it for so long now. Anyway, I'll take my frustration out on a run or something. But that'll do it. Enjoy the rest of the day. Rest up. We'll talk to you all tomorrow, and fingers crossed Ninja will be back up and running the way that it's supposed to be, and not closing out of positions that I don't want it to close out of. Fingers crossed, right? Enjoy the rest of the day. Hopefully you had a great day today, and we'll see you all tomorrow, right? Have a good one. We'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.